So I wanted to do this video about replacing the heater core in a 2000 Jeep Cherokee Sport. And I think this covers multiple years. I decided to do the video because there were a lot of small details I couldn't find any information on. But first, I just want to burst anyone's bubble that's under the illusion that it's a quick, simple job. You do have to remove the heater box from the vehicle, which requires you to completely remove the dash from the vehicle. And as you can see, there's all the stuff that had to be removed. What prompted me to do the video was inside this door there's this little flapper piece that came flying out when I took it apart, and I had a hard time figuring out where that thing went. And after messing around a while, I was able to find it. But I'm going to have to do the video a little bit in reverse because, as you can see, we already got it apart. So stay with us and you can see how it's done. And so we're getting all the bolts back in. And you even have to remove this blower motor. Otherwise, the box won't come apart. Found that out the hard way. And then once we get all the screws in, we will return. There are a couple of key things we're going to be looking for when we go to put this back in. And one is to make sure that we reinstate the AC drain. This lets the condensation leak out of the box onto the ground. That's where the water comes from when you see these cars idling with the air conditioner on and you see that dripping under the vehicle. That is the AC drain. And then secondly, this vacuum line goes out under the hood to the heater control valve unit. So we want to make sure we snake that back through the hole as we're putting it back together. And so this is that hole where that AC drain is going to go, right there. So we want to make sure we get that AC drain to blind up with that. And of course the vacuum line is going to go out through the hole into the engine compartment. As you can see, there are several mounting points, and these are all little studs that are built on the box that go through the firewall. And that would be these fellows right here, 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 and here. And again, here's that AC drain. I've installed the rubber tube to it that will go through the hole. And again, we've got this vacuum line that needs to go out under the hood. So as you can see, we've got the heater box back in. You see our tubes coming through. Here is that vacuum line that we talked about. And you can see that drain poking through right down there. And all we got to do is put all these 10mm bolts back on the studs. See one there. There's one just behind the valve cover here. That's kind of a pain to get to. But once we get those bolts back in, we'll start putting the dash back together. It's always good to put a little pag oil on these AC tubes when you go to snap them back in. And as some of you may know, you need these special relief tools to release the lock spring behind those. We've already done that. We're going back together. You can hear them snap into place. There's that one. This one's a little tougher because it's hooked to the accumulator. But you can hear it snap in place, and we're good to go on those. We'll finish tightening those bolts and then we're going to move inside. So we have moved inside and we are ready to put the dash back in. As you can see, we had to unbolt these two buses from the vehicle's wiring system to get the dash to move back far enough to fall down. The other thing we did was we took the two support bolts out of the steering column, so the steering column would sit down on the seat. And as soon as I get the dash pushed up into position, as you can see, there are bolts all along here that go all the way down, and we'll be putting those back in. So as you can see, get your bolt holes there and there, and two more over on the driver's side. We'll get those bolts back in, and then we'll start putting in all the accessories, and we'll bolt the steering column back up into its mounts. So as you can see, we've got the steering column bolted back up on the mounts, and the upper dash bezel snapped back in place. And right now I'm reinstating the airbag. As you can see, it's just one big unit. It bolts in the dash right there, and there's 4 10mm bolts that hold that in. And once we get that in, we'll be putting the rest of the vents on, the radio and heater controls back in, and then we'll move on to the console, and we should be close to being finished. So as you can see, we've got the airbag back in and the cover on. We're getting ready to do the dash bezel. It is just one big piece, as you can see, and it's held in there by these clips, and we're just going to slide that in the top and pop it in place. Now once we get that all fastened in, we'll put the console back in. So we are getting ready to put the console back in. As you can see, there's this piece of ductwork that sits under the console. That'll go in first. Just tucks in there like that. Vents out in the back. And for any of you guys that wondered about the shifter, this shifter knob, it just yanks off of there. You can see there's this push rod in there, but you just give it a hard jerk and it pulls off of there. So we'll get the console in, and we'll have the job finished. Have to have the emergency brake all the way up. Shift it forward. And as you can see, sits down in there just like that. We'll put our screws in and be good to go.